Good morning. It's Sunday, April the 12th, 2020, and I'm here to give you a quick overall perspective on where we stand in trying to fight off this current COVID pandemic. The news is actually good today. We have definitely seen the disease spreading at a slower rate than what we've seen in past weeks. I'm glad to be able to tell you today that what we're seeing is that the doubling of the numbers of cases in the United States has slowed to the point that we're only seeing it double about every 9 days. That's compared to a week ago when that was every 5.5, 2 weeks ago when that was every 3 days. So the social distancing thing, it is beginning to take effect. It is working. In terms of that 28-rung ladder of how many times it would have to double to cover the whole United States, we've just crossed to the point where we're just beyond 18 doublings. There's a little over 9 left to go. So today's the day that we're 2/3 of the way toward totally covering the U.S. So it's so critical that we continue to keep our foot on the brakes by doing the social distancing thing. But I want to take a moment today to speak to a specific issue because this seems to be the one thing more than any other that's tangling people up. There's still a significant percentage of Americans who think this whole thing is being overblown or it's a hoax or really COVID-19 is not that big of a deal. And there seems to be one graphic out there, and if you're on social media, you've seen this graphic. It's being passed around. It's just like it's gone viral. So many people have passed it along, and it's really just bogus propaganda. And what I'm talking about is the graphic that shows the leading causes of deaths in the United States on an annual basis, and sometimes people will present it as the leading causes of death in the world, but it basically all points to the same thing, and it truly is bogus propaganda, and let me explain why I say that. When you look at those charts, I'll use, for instance, the graphic for the United States. You're not surprised to see that the leading cause of death that's listed on there is heart disease. 650,000 people a year die in America from heart disease. Number 2, cancer, 600,000 people per year. Number 3, accidents, primarily automobile accidents. 170,000 people per year die from that. And as you continue on down the list, you see other diseases, and eventually you get to suicides, 47,000 deaths per year from suicides. And then you see multiple other diseases leading to numerous deaths. And way down the list, you see COVID-19. And it comes in with a little under 21,000 deaths. And so people are constantly reposting that, forwarding it, and saying, see, it's all just a big hoax. It's not that big of a deal. We're not concerned about people driving automobiles, and those cause far more deaths than COVID-19. All of these things cause far more deaths than COVID-19. And so they present that as if that were a sound argument for why this really isn't that big of a deal, and that's just a sham, and let me tell you why. All of the items that are listed on that graphic are stable in terms of their numbers. You're never going to look a year or 2 years down the line and go, oh my goodness, we've seen an 800% increase in the number of cancer deaths or the number of heart disease deaths. You're never going to look and say, wow, we had an 80% decrease in the number of automobile accident deaths. These are stable numbers that hardly change from year to year. And you cannot take a disease that is an epidemic that is exploding on the scene. It's growing exponentially in terms of the number of cases that's just been around for such a short span of time and put it on a list of annual statistics. It completely skews the matter. Let me give you an example of exactly what we're talking about how skewed that would be, because it's not like COVID-19's been around for a year. It wasn't hardly around even 3 or 4 months ago. It was just barely appearing on the scene. To illustrate just how much this is changing and how rapidly, consider this. 2 days ago, on Friday, April the 10th, the United States for the first time crossed the 500,000 threshold for the number of cases in America. When I saw that, I was thinking, it seems like it's just been such a short time ago since we only had 5,000 cases. So I was curious, and I looked back in the data, and I was surprised to discover that we hit the 5,000 mark on March the 17th. That's right. Only 24 days had passed between the point when we hit 5,000 cases and when we hit 500,000 cases. In 3.5 short weeks, we saw the number of cases in the U.S. multiply by 10,000%. And in those same 3.5 weeks, the number of deaths in the United States from COVID-19 increased by more than 16,000%. This is why leaders at the national level, at the state levels, at community levels, and leaders of nations around the globe have done things that are unprecedented in our lifetime to say, we've got to stop this and we've got to stop this now. Because if we continue to see those kinds of trends, it had grown by 10,000% in only 3.5 weeks. If it grows by another 10,000% in the United States, we're going to be looking at 53 million cases. And if the deaths multiply by another 16,000%, you'd be looking at 3.3 million dead Americans. That's what exponential growth does. And you can't just take something that's just arrived and put it on an annual death rate chart. So what do you do to correct for that? How do you evaluate where this really stands? It's actually very simple. You don't look at annual numbers. If you want to know what COVID-19 is doing compared to other things that are killing people in America, you have to take a snapshot look. You have to look at what it's doing today, and here's what it's doing today. If you look at that same graphic of the leading causes of death in the United States on a daily basis, here's what you'll find. The number one cause of death in America today is COVID-19. It's killing more people on a daily basis than heart disease. It's killing more people than cancer. It's killing 4 times as many people per day than automobile accidents. It's killing 15 times as many people per day as suicide. So all these people who are saying, oh, we're not telling people not to drive automobiles because so many more people die in automobiles and we still let them drive. No, there's nothing in America killing as many people per day than COVID-19. So the next time somebody forwards you that silly chart and tries to say, oh, this is not that big a deal, why don't you suggest to them that they update their chart and that they look at it on a daily basis to discover that the number one killer in America is still COVID-19 and it's still growing. So my point to you is very simple. We're making progress. We're making strides. Social distancing, staying at home, it's doing what it needs to do, but we can't let up. And there is this sense that there's a significant number of people who are easing back and who aren't participating in this. If everyone will do their part, we're not talking about doing this until Christmas, we're not talking about doing it till the end of the summer, but just for a few more weeks, do your part, stay at home, isolate, act like everybody else has the plague, so stay away from them. If we'll all do this, work like it's all up to us, pray like it's all up to God, if we will do this, we will see this thing broken and we'll more quickly return to a normal way of life. I'm Mark Price, reminding you to stay in touch, stay safe, and stay at home. And always remember that you are loved.